excavation of specific areas has resulted in the recording and recovery of thousands of artifacts, many of which form important parts of themed displays in major Dutch museums. Since the sinking, layers of sediment have built over parts of the wreck. As the timbers of the hull are revealed by excavation, survey points are placed on the hull so that structure and objects can be positioned within the ship. Towards the port side of the ship, and amongst the debris of the collapsed upper structure, the contents from broken boxes litter the seabed, entwined with rope and rigging elements which once stood 100 feet above the decks. As well as providing information on goods carried, excavation also offers the chance to study how these ships were loaded. A trench across the stern of the vessel shows how a cargo of Dutch house bricks, which covers the floor in the center of the ship, is separated from lead ingots stowed in the stern, each to one side of a large wooden beam. 20 meters south, towards the bow, another trench across the ship shows how the bricks are stored in the bottom of the ship, lying on the floor timbers and against and over the keelson, which marks the position of the keel beneath, the center line of the ship. This trench continues across to the port side, and excavation beneath the ships shows the small square holes in the outer hull planking for the attachment of thin wooden sheathing for protection against shipworm in the heat of the Indian Ocean. Beneath the ship, the remains of a sandbank can be seen, and the angular forms on the underside of the hull are the remains of the corroded bolts on the outside of the ship's hull penetrating into the sand. Here, alongside the ship, are the remains of structure and objects which fell outside the ship during the sinking and the gradual collapse of the upper hull structure. Just outside the starboard side of the ship, a large copper cauldron rests against the outside of the hull. Objects such as this are carefully lifted, recorded, and placed into tanks. Artifacts are registered, photographed, and studied by the archaeologists and one of 2 project conservators. They are then carefully stored or packed for transportation to the project's conservation laboratories within the museum in Flushing. All the information, together with photographs and site drawings, are entered into a database which will eventually be accessible to all through the project website. The excavation of the Vliegenhart continues to provide tangible information through a study of the shipwreck and the artifacts recovered from within her, about life on board the vessel and what was required to support the community ashore. It is also providing first-hand information about how goods were packaged and loaded for these perilous journeys venturing to the edges of the known world.